All right, well, neither team is adding a loss to the loss column here. The Bengals and the Eagles tie 23-23 in overtime, and we are going to break down. There's plenty to talk about in this one. A very unsatisfying ending in sports when there's a tie for me. It just doesn't feel like there should always be a winner and a loser. But let's discuss this one. Thank you for joining us on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh, Amy Campbell, Fran Duffy, Ike Reese. Guys, where do we even begin on this one? Ike, let me start with you. How do you feel about a tie in this one? How am I supposed to be feeling? Happy, sad, neutral?
No, you should feel sad as an Eagles fan. I mean, that's, and taking nothing away from the Cincinnati Bengals, but if you're looking at the big picture and what we hoped this Eagles football team could be this year, I think if it wasn't clear to us in the first 2 weeks, Amy, I think going up against an 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals team at home when they're starting a rookie quarterback and Joe Burrow, and you can't find a way to get a win at home, plenty of opportunities to do that, you walk away with a tie, it feels like a loss. Because what it feels like to me is that I can't dream about a championship right now. I can't think about postseason play right now. It's frustrating not knowing what this team could be this year. And right now, after 3 weeks, the ceiling, at least for this particular team, does not look like it's very high. And that's disheartening if you're an Eagles fan right now.
All right, I'm going to sit in my sad feelings then. And Fran, let me go to you. At the end of overtime there, the decision to go for a 64-yard field goal after the false start that backed them up from 59 yards. I think it was 64 yards. And Doug Pederson elects to punt it away and take the tie. This is probably going to be a big talking point this week around here, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously, there's not a lot to say about what happened in the last few seconds of that game. I mean, inexcusable penalty for Matt Pryor in that situation to take that false start penalty. Regardless, I know there was movement from the defensive line and things like that, but to have that kind of penalty, and then even what happened on the first down after the big play to Zach Ertz, getting that penalty or having to spend that timeout right after that play, I mean, just self-inflicted wounds, right? I mean, we say this all the time after Eagles losses. You say it on offense, you say it on defense, on special teams. 3 minutes of real time at the end of the game, that's tough to swallow. And that's why I agree with Ike. If you're an Eagles fan, it's tough. You can't walk away from this happy with a tie. I mean, you can't. I know it wasn't a loss, but it does not feel good right now, and it's not going to feel good this week.
Still nothing in the win column for either team, so that speaks to your point as well. And look, when you look at the Eagles' defense, big stop after big stop after big stop, especially during that overtime. 8 sacks on Joe Burrow, still unable to get in the win column. Let's go now to Dave Spadaro, Eagles insider. Dave, we were hoping we were going to be in a great mood when we had this post-game show. That's what we mentioned earlier in the kickoff show. But let's just get your initial thoughts on this and just the vibe kind of in there at Lincoln Financial Field.
I mean, there's no vibe because there's nobody here, but it was heartening to see the way that Carson Wentz led the team down the field at the end of regulation. And then the way they mishandled overtime was really difficult to see. This is a veteran coaching staff that is preparing players for every scenario. Did not prepare the Eagles, as Fran alluded to, after the Zach Ertz big catch, and then the false start from Matt Pryor. That is, JP goes down on that sneak from Carson Wentz. The Eagles are in prime position with plenty of time on the clock to put themselves in field goal position. By the way, no wind at all in the stadium. So that was an opportunity for Jake Elliott to have a long field goal opportunity to make a field goal. So, but then also beyond that is the carnage that this team incurred once again. Dallas Goedert, ankle injury. Deshaun Jackson, hamstring injury. Avonte Maddox, ankle injury. JP at the end of the game goes down and has to be helped off the field. So, Carson is throwing to Deontay Burnett. He's throwing to Greg Ward. He's throwing to John Hightower, Richard Rodgers. I know the stat that I saw during the game was something like 2 out of 146 teams that started the season 0-3 made it to the playoffs. I don't, however, know the statistic of 0, 2, and 1. And that's why I will say that this is not as bad as a loss. It was poorly managed at the end of the game. The offense still sputtering. I felt a little 2019 Giants game Monday night here when the Eagles turned it around there late. But you walk away with a bunch more injuries and a very unsatisfying feeling.
Well, Dave, you touched on a lot there and a lot to kind of respond to. I guess the first thing, you talked about Carson Wentz and the heartening feeling of him kind of leading that team down. He runs in for the touchdown to tie the game late. I know there was no fans in the stands, but being there watching it live, did you kind of get that sense that momentum was starting to go their way?
Oh, absolutely. And I really liked, by that time, friend, I was actually in the stands, section 108. I felt like I was a good luck charm. It was the first time I've ever been in the stands for an extended period of time in my life for an Eagles game, and it was really fun. But I like Carson getting out of the pocket and running. And, you know, that is just something that's another element here. I like the Jalen Hurts package. I like you've got to be creative when you're throwing to a receiving core that is not experienced, that doesn't really have the deep threat. So I thought the Eagles did that pretty nicely, and I thought Carson responded late. And then he even put them in position twice in overtime in Cincinnati's side of the 50-yard line. But at the end of the day, as Ike said, you've got to find a way to put away a team that's 0-2, the Cincinnati Bengals, a young team, and the Eagles just couldn't do that.
Yeah, Dave. It's great the way they continued to fight in this game. They showed some resiliency, but still early in the game, Dave, missed opportunities and turnovers at the quarterback position, still an issue. If you don't have those, maybe this isn't a tie game late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, look, Carson's struggling. There's no doubt about it. Two bad interceptions, one tipped, of course. Then he misses Miles Sanders on the sideline route when Sanders had a two-step advantage in coverage. That would have been a touchdown. And so, you know, we are still wondering about Carson Wentz. What is going on here? Foot rolling left, throwing right. I mean, throwing body position contorted. There's certainly a lot of things to worry about. The Eagles going away from the run game for an extended period of time in the second quarter after they had gashed Cincinnati early in the game with Miles Sanders. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting here content. I'm not sitting here happy. But I'm telling you that the Eagles at least salvaged something from this game. My big picture worry is that there are a lot more injuries. This team is playing with a skeleton crew, certainly at the wide receiver position. And when you lose a Dallas Goedert, you're losing a big part of the offense.
Dave, I want to go back to that last stretch in overtime. And you mentioned you were sitting in the stands in section 108. I'm not sure if you were there for the final conclusion. But what were kind of the takeaways? Obviously, with no fans there, you're able to kind of hear all the machinations happening on the sideline, on the field. What was going on?
I think it was poorly handled. You know, if you're going to coach everybody to be prepared for every different scenario, that's one of them. You're going down to the end of the game. You're trying to manage the clock. You've got no timeouts left. A player goes down. See, that was the unfortunate part. It was a really smart challenge by the Bengals, or I guess it was by the officials at that point, to look at the spot. So instead of a 1st and 10 from the 45, the Eagles had to call a quarterback sneak, and that's where Jason Peters gets hurt, and 10 seconds go off the clock. You lose your left tackle. You've got to shuffle your offensive line again, and you suffer the false start penalty. So just an unfortunate series of events, but you've got to be ready for moments like that, and the Eagles just did not execute in that situation, Fran. Golden opportunity twice in overtime to steal a victory. And no doubt about it, this would have been a stolen victory because the Bengals played better for most of the game.
That's a great point there, Dave. And like you said, just unable to capitalize on those opportunities, especially down the stretch with the opportunity to put the game away. All right, we're going to let you go, Dave. Thanks so much for your insight. We'll keep holding it down here on the Postgame Show as we break it down.
All right, guys.
All right, Ike, I'm going to go to you now to get started on your 3 takeaways. Hard to have only 3 after a game like this, but what's the first one?
Yeah, I mean, missed opportunities early in the game. You know, Dave mentioned the stop and go route that Miles Sanders had out there on the linebacker, where he beats the linebacker by a couple of yards. And that's a throw Carson has to make. I mean, take your time, make that throw. There's no pressure on him. He has the ability to make that throw, and he completely overshoots him by 3 yards. That's a possible touchdown. Not just a big gain there, but that's a touchdown potentially there on that play, and an opportunity to get back ahead of this game and possibly not even go into overtime if they connect on that play. And then there's a throw also early in the game where he could have hit Zach Ertz, and he just missed him. I just think that when you have an opportunity to make big plays and you're struggling at the quarterback position, you have to be able to make them when they're there. And there were some opportunities, much like there have been the first 3 weeks of the season, and we're just not capitalizing on them in the passing game. And when you start to lose more and more of your best players at the skill position, those opportunities are going to be far and few. And who knows how many of those you're going to get the rest of the day. There weren't very many of those left after that Miles Sanders play with Deshaun Jackson being injured. So that's something that I noticed, that if you just hit on those plays, this game may not even get to overtime.
Well, and look, you could see the frustration on Carson Wentz's face, his entire body language. I don't know if I've really ever seen him look so frustrated on the sideline there, especially down the stretch when he had Miles Sanders wide open and overthrew him. He looked so frustrated. So, Fran, you could see that there were just missed opportunities at those in those big moments.
And a big part of that too, Amy, the first half, he was under duress really from the jump. The pass rush of that Cincinnati Bengals defensive line got to Carson Wentz a lot more than I think everybody would have liked to see, right? You saw what Carl Lawson was able to do coming off the Eagles' left side against Jason Peters. Carlos Dunlap was in the backfield. There was just too much heat on Carson Wentz early in this game. He was never really able to get into any kind of rhythm. And by the time the offensive line the protection schemes got things figured out, we talked about the missed opportunities. To me, one of the positive things from this game too, just to kind of look at it on the other side, defensively, the way that they were able to turn around, Darius Slay's in and out. You had some injuries on that side. Avonte Maddox is out of the game. What they did in overtime to even give the Eagles a chance to win this game, prevented Cincinnati from flipping the field twice, was able to kind of force negative yardage. They get a 4th and 22. What the defense was able to do on the back end of this game, especially in overtime, certainly a good sign. When you look at how they were able to kind of bounce back, the offense and special teams just unable to come through for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and plenty to break down in this defensive performance, especially down the stretch, especially in overtime. Stop after stop after stop. We saw Darius Slay get banged up. He comes out. He comes back in, makes several big stops in overtime. The defensive line, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Joe Burrow was sacked 8 times. It was so much pressure that they were getting on him. And look, you even mentioned Avonte Maddox goes out. Trevor Williams steps in. They go at him the very next play. He has a nice pass breakup in the end zone. We just saw Marcus Epps there with another pass breakup in the end zone. Ike, a lot of big moments here from this defense. That the offense wasn't able to get the job done, but the defense continued to put them in that position.
Yeah, I like what the defense did. I like the game plan from Jim Schwartz today. Even though you got a young quarterback back there and the offensive line is banged up, they struggle to protect him. Conventional wisdom may say you don't need to bring extra guys. You should be able to get home with your front 4. But I like the mixture of a 5th or a 6th rusher to give Joe Burrow something different to look at. And then also, there were plenty of times where they got home with just their front 4. So I like what the defense was able to do. There probably was maybe a quarter in the game where I thought we were giving up a little bit too much and Joe Burrow was a little bit too comfortable back there throwing the football. But when it came time to make the big plays and get the big stops, the defense was able to do it today. The one thing I'll say, Amy, if I'm a nitpick at the defense and their 8 sacks, I would have loved to get a strip sack there, get that ball on the ground, find a way to get a turnover off this Cincinnati team. That really was the difference when you think about it. 8 sacks on Joe Burrow, but no turnover today. He didn't fumble the ball. He didn't throw an interception. An extra possession on a short field would have been nice to have for this Eagles offense.
That's a great point, Ike. And Fran, I'll let you touch on that as well. That was Dave's key to the game, was to win the turnover battle. Again, still 0 takeaways for this defense with all the big plays, all the big stops today. And then, of course, 2 interceptions for Carson Wentz, bringing his total to 6 on the season after having 7 all of last year.
Yeah, and Ike, you did a great job this week on Eagles game plan, talking about defending Joe Burrow in those empty sets. We saw a lot of it. I talked about it here on the kickoff show as well before the game here with Amy, and it was all about disrupting the timing. And we talked about the coverage has to be tight. I thought that Jim Schwartz and his defensive staff did a great job of kind of making him think, disguising coverages, disguising blitzes. We saw a number of different pressure looks from the Eagles in this game on third down when the Bengals were in empty, and I thought that was a really well executed game plan from Jim Schwartz and from this defensive staff, which was certainly good to see after what happened last week against LA. But I agree with you, Ike. I mean, what the difference between a good defense and a great defense. Turnovers, big plays, right? If you got to prevent the big play, no question, but creating some big plays for your offense is also what kind of takes that defense up in the next echelon. And I think when you're talking about run defense, sacks, TFLs, those are all well and good, but getting those strip sacks, getting those turnovers, that's what that's what this whole team honestly needs right now.
All right, let's get to your second takeaway, Ike.
Yeah, turnovers. I mean, we just really talked about it there, and it's on both sides of the ball. Obviously, the Eagles, you can't turn the ball over. You lead the league in plus-minus differential from the turnover category. What are we, +7? Oh, no, -7. I'm sorry. -7 to where we've given the ball away 7 times, and 8 times and only taken it away once, and that was on special teams. So 2 more interceptions today. The first one, I won't necessarily fault him. His arm was hit. Linebacker right there in the throwing lane. You get an interception there. But the interception where he was throwing the ball to Zach Ertz, that's just poor ball placement. That ball has to be placed on the outside where only Zach can catch it, or it's thrown out of bounds. There's no way you can throw that ball on the inside. Poorly executed throw from Carson Wentz. We just talked about the defense and how great it was for them to get sacks and everything on Joe Burrow today. But it would have been nice to get a short field for this offense to sort of work with. And that's going to be important for them going forward, guys, because without explosive plays and without missing Deshaun Jackson, we don't know how long he's going to be out, in Dallas Goedert, this offense is going to need short fields in order to get touchdowns. So they're going to need takeaways from their defense, and their offense must do a better job protecting the ball.
Well, just as I'm looking at my notes, one of the things I wrote, I think I might have written this around the third quarter, but I wrote on offense, everything feels hard. It just feels like everything was such an effort to just move the chains even a little bit. And look, there are big injuries. There are the struggles that Carson's going through. There's the offensive line. There's Deshaun's out. There's Rager's out. There's all these different factors, but it just still felt like it was this slogging through. It wasn't this just free, wide open offense that we have hoped to see and have seen at times from the Eagles, Fran.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's just not clicking right now, especially in the passing game. We talked about how important it was. Your key to the game going in, Amy, was going to be able to get the running game going. We did see a little bit of that, especially in the first half. They didn't get quite the amount of movement I think that they were hoping for in the second half. Cincinnati kind of put the clamps down early in the second half on the run game. But yeah, I mean, when you're talking about the pass game, it's just not clicking right now, guys. I mean, and I'll throw everything in there. You talk about pass protection. The quarterback play has not been great. There have been drops. It's just the passing game is just not clicking right now.
Well, when you talk about getting the running game going, Miles Sanders 95 yards today. Carson Wentz rushed for 65 yards today. So that's not some. I think that's a really high number for him. I don't remember the last time he did that. I read it was. I saw somebody tweeted the stat. It's been a while since he rushed for that many yards. Ike, you look like you want to comment on that one. Is that team LTTB, LBBT, whatever that is?
No, I just think it was needed today. It was needed. He's going to have to do more of that. I mean, this offense lacks big playmaking ability right now, and until they find sort of a rhythm with the passing game, Carson, whenever they give you man coverage and the defense has its back turned to you, you got to take off. I mean, it's what the offense is called for. I mean, what we saw the last 4 weeks of the season last year 4 to 5 weeks of the season last year is what we're about to see for the next few weeks. Until they can get all of their players back on offense, it's going to be all hands on deck, and Carson's going to have to run and throw in order for this offense to be able to move and get the ball in the end zone.
All right, let's get to your next takeaway, Ike.
Yeah, lack of explosiveness from the offense. I just mentioned it, Amy and Fran. It reminds me so much of what the end of the season looked like, where there was just far too many 10, 12-play, 14-play drives where you just had to fight tooth and nail for every yard that you got, for every blade of grass that you got. You had to fight for it. And that's what today seems sort of felt like. And they just don't have the big plays there. And when the few opportunities arise, they got to take advantage of it. Whether Carson needs to put the ball in a position where his playmakers can make a throw, or if it's Carson who takes off for a 15-yard run and has the team in field goal range to possibly win the game, and there's a holding penalty. You can't have those type of things. When they do make a big play, it seems like there's a penalty call that's going to call the big play back, or we're going to either overthrow the ball or underthrow the ball. Just this offense needs to get big plays going. It's what they designed this offense to do this offseason when they acquired these players. Unfortunately, injury bug is hit again, and I don't know where the explosive plays are going to come from.
Yeah, and I think sounds like Doug Pederson might be taking the podium in the near future, so we are going to stand by for that. But Fran, and here comes Doug. Let's listen to the head coach.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. We'll get started right away with Dave Zangaro and then John McMullen.
Hey, Doug, can you take us through the decision to punt at the end of the game, please?
Yeah, the decision there, one of two things. You can either attempt it on fourth down and try to go for – we tried to go for the field goal, the game winner. That was the thing. We were going to go for the game winner with the kick. Felt comfortable with Jake, had the wind. The false start backed us up, so we just said, hey, let's just punt the football here. We didn't want to give them the ball, towards midfield, or even a chance to go for it on fourth down and long, incomplete pass, something like that. They get the ball short field, they could kick a field goal and win the game. So just made that decision. Hopefully something positive might have come out of the punt.
John McMullen and then Kristen Rogers.
Hey, Doug, if you go back to regular time, did you consider at all going for two when the game was tied?
I did. I did consider it, but I also felt like the way our offense was playing, towards the down the stretch, battled to get ourselves back in position. Carson in overtime felt comfortable there to just kick the extra point and then put it back in our offense's hands at that time. So just elected to kick the field goal or the extra point.
Kristen and then Rob Motti.
Hey, Doug, curious what you tell your guys right now. I mean, what's the mood for this team? I mean, a tie is kind of almost as bad as a loss at this point.
Yeah. I told them in the locker room after the game that we weren't a very, very, very smart football team today. I think 11 penalties. Came at crucial times, and we couldn't get off the field on defense, and offensively we didn't execute well enough. We had some injuries, but that's going to be part of the game. But just not a smart football team right now, and that's on me, and we'll get that fixed as we get ready for this next week. But I like how our team battled, hung in there, came back to tie the game at the end, but just overall not very smart today, not very disciplined. When those are some of the things we talk about quite a bit.
Rob and then Jeff McLean.
Doug, why do you think this offense is still out of sync, still can't seem to find a rhythm, and how much do you blame some of those injuries on that?
Well, it is hard, when you got some moving pieces and you got different guys in there, but listen, we're not going to make excuses for anything. We got to continue to work, we got to continue to practice, get better, and sort these things out. And when the injuries piled up today, it just sort of got us a little bit out of our game plan rhythm. it was tough today to find a sync, to find rhythm. You know, I'd give credit to the Bengals, you know, for kind of mixing up some coverages, some fronts on us, you know, we just got to continue to work.
Jeff, and then Tim McManus.
Doug, are Carson's mechanics the reason why he's missing layup throws?
No.
And then Chris Franklin.
Hey, Doug, you pride yourself on being an aggressive coach, and like the confidence that it instills in your players by doing that. How does that jive with your decision to punt and create a situation where they had no chance to win?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, obviously in those situations, you hopefully do what's right for the football team. You know, and that's probably a decision I'll look back on tomorrow and say, hey, we could have done something else. But you know, it is what it is. We'll learn from it. I'll learn from it, and we'll get better.
Chris, and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Doug, you guys are a -7 this season when it comes to overall turnover differentials. And as you mentioned, you guys had 11 penalties today. Do you guys feel right now, especially, you feel it's more scheme or just execution?
Well, it's a lot of that's just execution, you know, and the turnovers are, you know, we're turning it over and we're not getting the takeaways. That's something we talked about this week as a team, trying to win the turnover ratio, and we didn't do that again. So we got to continue to, you know, I've got to continue to sort of talk about that with our football team, and somewhere we need to get a break where we can you know, create a short field for our offense, and right now we're not doing that, and you know, the penalties today were costly, as I said, and can't happen.
Martin, and then Zach Berman.
Hey, Doug, did you feel like you would be able to take advantage of them more running the football? I mean, there was kind of a sequence in the first half where you guys threw like 7 straight passes and everything. You know, I was just wondering like what your thoughts were as far as trying to take advantage of them in their run defense.
Yeah, you know, I guess. I mean, you can now looking back, you could say we could have done this, could have done that. But in the moment at the time, you know, they had done some things with some of their nickel edge pressures that kind of deterred us from some of our run game fits, stemming the front, doing different things that kind of disrupt. And we knew that coming in. You know, with this team, this is a team that gives you a lot of multiple fronts and multiple looks, and so we were making adjustments on the sideline, but felt like too we could make some you know, make some gains with the ball coming out of Carson's hand and get him on the run just a little bit, you know, during the game.
We have time for a few more, so let's go Zach, Jimmy, and Nick.
Hey, Doug, what was Jake's range going into the game? And as far as not going for it on the 4th down, what do you think is a chance of happening? You converting a 4th and 12, or them getting 12 yards without a timeout if you did get the incompletion there?
We were right at the kick line for Jake, so my decision to kick the field goal and win the game was the right one at that time.
No, but as far as going for the punt and not keeping your offense on the field to try to get the 4th and 12.
Well, the false start right there. We haven't, you know, when we were struggling a little bit on 3rd down, you know, and again looking back, I mean, hindsight's, you know, 20/20, I guess, and I'll look at that decision and. You know, tomorrow with clearer eyes and make a decision later.
Jimmy, and then Nick.
Yeah, hey Doug. Not to beat this point with a, you know, like a dead horse or whatever, but when it was going to be the 64-yarder, you know, because he had hit because Jake had hit from 61 before, and because he had hit from 54 earlier with room to spare earlier in the day, was there any discussion at all with Phipp or with Jake on whether to just go screw it, let's just kick it anyway?
What are you talking about? I mean, we were going to kick it anyway.
I mean, kick the field goal anyway.
Oh, from when we had the 5-yard penalty? No, I mean, you know, again, then you're, you know, look, that's a decision. If you miss it, then they get the ball right at, you know, the midfield stripe, and you didn't want to do that either, and give them a short field and win the game.
Go ahead, Nick.
Hi, Doug. Good. What did you see from Carson on that game-tying drive at the end of regulation? You feel he made some decisions there, especially on the touchdown run, and you feel maybe cleared a hurdle or two here with that?
That one kind of broke up. Can you ask it again?
Yeah. What did you see from Carson on that final touchdown, or the final touchdown drive that tied it at the end of regulation? He looks like he made some good decisions with runs, especially on the touchdown. Did you get anything out of it? Can you take anything from that going forward after a kind of an up and down performance from him?
Yeah, I mean, he battled. He was tough. He had some tough runs. He had the run for the the scramble for the for the touchdown, and played physical. And that was one of the things we did, and we took away from that. We did have the ability to run the football, and we came out in the overtime period and basically tried to do the same thing, and try to simulate the run game, get it going, and we were a little behind the chains on a couple of drives today. We weren't very good on first down again, second long and third and long situations that hurt us. But looking at that drive and the toughness that really all our guys, not just Carson, but all our guys. I mean, we had some guys that were beat up, that were playing hurt at the end of the game. Commend them for battling and tying the game.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
All right, pretty candid there from Coach Doug Pederson, saying, look, I told our team we were not a very smart football team today, but that's on me. We'll get it turned around, referencing the 11 penalties. And Jalen Mills is taking the podium, so we'll send it back on over.
Hey, Jalen, thanks for taking the time today. We'll get started with Jamie Apodi and then Les Bowen.
Hey, Jalen. I was wondering if you guys as a team have any anger with the fact that you guys ended this game in a tie. Coach was saying, that you guys talked about being disappointed, but is anyone angry in this room that you guys are 0-2-1 now?
It's definitely very upsetting. When you talk about anger, it can go a couple different ways. So I think the biggest phrase right now will be very upsetting. You've seen some good, and then you've seen some bad, and at the end of the day, that's not our standard. We play this game to win. Philadelphia Eagles, we have one standard, and that's win at home and not playing for a tie or a loss.
Les and then Bo Wolf.
Jalen, what kind of message does the team take from punting with 19 seconds left in overtime?
Yeah, unfortunately, we were in field goal range. Coach always preaches, don't have any self-inflicted, penalties. We had a couple of those, and of course, we would have loved to kick that field goal, but I think it was just a little bit out of Jake's range. So at that point, you really don't have a choice.
Bo and then Murray.
Jalen, you said just now that one of the things that you guys pride yourselves on is not playing for a tie or a loss, but when you do punt that ball, you are playing for the tie. What was your guys' reaction as you're walking off the field and in the locker room?
At that point, say we do try to kick a field goal, and we miss. It's now that team has the opportunity to get field position back, and it's still time on the clock, and maybe they get in position to kick a field goal, and we do take the loss. So it's a lot of different ways that the scenario could have went. At the end of the day, we tied, and we just gotta live with that. Come in on Tuesday, watch the film, look at the mistakes, because at this point, you don't care about any good that we did. The result wasn't the result we wanted. Look at the mistakes, offense, defense, and special teams, and get them corrected.
Chris and then Mike Luongo.
Yeah, Jalen, how do you feel about the defense's performance today?
Me as a true competitor, I want to win each and every game. I want it to be on the defense's back, regardless, whatever happens. So us getting, maybe one more play, getting the strip sack, getting an interception, whatever it may be, getting a fumble. I feel like We could have got one more play in. You know what I'm saying? It could have made the difference.
We have time for two more, so let's go Mike Luongo and Daniel Gallen.
Jalen, hi. What do you think this team's psyche is at right now? It seems like, for the first three games, things have gone wrong at the worst possible time. You're losing players to injuries. Even though it's early in the year and you have a lot of time left, I realize, but what do you think this team's psyche is right now?
It's the same. Go out, compete Monday through Friday at practice, come out on Sunday and play for the win. My 5 years being here now, that's all this team has ever done is fought through adversity, fought through injury, fought through ups and downs throughout the season. And at the end of the day, we have one goal, make it to the postseason. And once you make it to the postseason, you want to be in the dance. So I don't think at this point nobody's down on themselves. Of course, like I said, it's upsetting. The dudes, may feel some type of way because we did tie, but at the end of the day, we've been here before. You know what I'm saying? And we got the coaches, we got the players to fight through this.
Last question here with Daniel.
Hey, Jalen, on that final drive on the sideline, what did you see from Carson Wentz and the offense? What was it like watching that sequence?
Yeah, they were putting the drive together. You know what I'm saying? They were getting down the field. Then, like I said, unfortunately at the end, we're trying to get in field goal range, get those penalties, man, that hurt us, because we're confident in Jake, and I feel like if we didn't have those, Jake was going to give us opportunity to ice the game.
Thanks, Jalen.
Thank you.
All right, love those comments from Jalen Mills there saying it's definitely very upsetting. We play this game to win. We'll come in Tuesday and look at the mistakes and fix them. And we are about to hear now from Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz.
Hey, Carson, thanks for taking the time today. We'll get started with Paul Domowitch and then Zach Berman.
Yeah, Carson, you lost Dallas early in this game, second possession. He has such an important role both in the run and pass game. How much did it hurt to lose him?
Yeah, losing a guy like Dallas that, like you said, he's got a huge role in protections, in run game, but he's a playmaker with the ball in his hands and down the field. So he's a big part of our game plan every week, and so losing him, we had to make some adjustments on the fly, makes it tough. And then losing D-Jack at halftime, made it tough as well. And just trying to get guys going in the right place and trying to bring it all together. It's definitely challenging in the middle of a game, but I thought guys did a good job of filling those spots when they could.
Zach and then Dave Zangaro.
Carson, before the final drive.
What was the conversation with Doug on the sideline going over the play sheet there? And can you take us through that final drive?
The final drive of overtime?
Regulation.
Really having a hard time hearing.
The final drive of regulation that tied the game.
Oh, yeah. It was – I was proud of the way the guys fought. They had a couple penalties. We kind of just slowly moving the ball down the field and, getting completions and moving the chains as best we could and found a way to punch it in. So I was proud of the guys the way we rallied, especially after kind of a back and forth, not so clean game from us offensively. But, there's a lot of dialogue with Coach in terms of what plays we want to get to. We want to run the ball, throw the ball, who are our best matchups. And, kind of goes back to the first question and just we got plays designed, but we got new guys out there. So we got to find a way to get guys in the right spots. And we found a way at the end of regulation at least to tie it up.
Dave and then Tim McManus.
Hey, Carson, what was your reaction when Doug decided to punt basically for the tie in the overtime?
Yeah, I understood the decision. Tying is no fun. I don't think I've ever been in a tie, so it's just kind of an awkward way to end a game. But frustrating when you have a chance there to kick the field goal. And even with our drive offensively, a couple times we felt like we were in field goal range, we had plays, and then we had penalties, and things just kept backing us up. So the fight was there, the effort was there from guys. We just got to be smarter, play cleaner. I got to be better as well. And, it was a frustrating way to end the game for sure.
Tim and then Jeff McLean.
Can't hear you, Tim.
Why don't you step in?
Carson, you guys are known, Doug has always been known for his aggressiveness. What did you make of the decision not to go for two at the end of regulation to win it right there? And then also on 4th and 12, were you part of the discussions to maybe send the offense back out there and try and convert?
Both those decisions are coaches. I think coach felt good about our ability and our momentum, going into overtime. To defense was playing well to get a stop, and for us offensively to go down and get a score. So I trust and respect coach's decision. Those are his to make, and even the 4th down later, I think we were all kind of unsure as to what was going on, even because we had a field goal lined up ready to go. And I get it. They're tough decisions to make, and I trust coach fully.
Tim, if you're ready, and then John McMullen.
Can you run us through your 2 interceptions? Were they the right reads, and what were you seeing?
Yeah, the first one I felt good about. Ball gets tipped at the line. It's a bad feeling when you're back there and you're seeing the ball flutter through the air because it gets tipped at the line of scrimmage. Guy made a good play. And the other one, got aggressive there trying to get one in there to Ertz, and guy made a good play. And, that's something that I just got to be better with.
John, and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Carson, more moving parts on the offensive line this week. Nate flipped sides. Matt Pryor was in there at right guard. I know you preach that next man up mentality, but how difficult all the moving parts. Then, as you mentioned, you lose Dallas, Deshaun in game. How much more difficult, and how does that change things on the fly?
Yeah, it's definitely always difficult. It's always a challenge. In a week, it's one thing. In a game, it's even tougher. But none of those things are excuses. Guys prepare and guys are ready to go. That's why we're all here, ready to go when our number's called. And I thought guys did a good job. Like I said earlier, I think guys stepped up where they needed to. And the O-line, I thought they played well. And I'll have to obviously watch the tape. But, I'm proud of the way guys are just, hey, next man up. There's no, big eyes like what's going on. Guys are ready to go. They know their stuff. And we ought to just be better and play smarter.
We have time for 2 more, so let's go Martin Frank and then Marcus Hayes.
Hey, Carson. You seem to have another up and down kind of day. I guess Tim already asked you about the interceptions, but you had that one deep ball to Miles that you overthrew. You seemed kind of frustrated by that. But then you also had the really nice pass to Ertz. Are you still can you just kind of talk about just the ups and downs that you're still kind of going through here?
Yeah, really that's every game. You're going to miss a couple. You're going to, make some plays. Things happen. Obviously, I got to just be better. I got to, handle some of these. And some of them are communication, just make sure we're on the same page with everybody. And some are just, poor throws. And I got to be better. And I will. And guys are, we're still meshing and gelling as a team and building the chemistry. And, a lot of moving pieces today. And not as an excuse, but guys will continue to get this experience and learn from it. And we'll all be better, including myself.
Last question here with Marcus.
Hey, Carson. It looked, from our perspective anyway, like the Deshaun Jackson pass was into triple coverage. It looked like you threw to the wrong side to Zach Ertz. And clearly, I don't know if it was a timing issue, but you seemed to overthrow Miles Sanders on what would have been a touchdown ball. Are we not seeing what you're seeing? Is there something we're missing?
I'll have to watch the tape. Honestly, you go through a game and, you make poor decisions, you make great decisions, you make some good throws, you miss some throws. Some of them are communication, some of them are unfortunate. Some guys are making good plays, and I got to be better, and I know that, and I will be. And, I'll learn from it. That's really all I can say.
Thanks, Carson.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz. As we stay on our toes, the players are going to be continuing shuffling in. So as we continue to wait for whoever is taking the podium next, let's go over some of the high points from Carson Wentz's press conference here, talking about he's proud of the way the guys fought, how they rallied at the end of regulation, continuing to trust the coach's decisions, that they're tough decisions to make, and that punting was a frustrating way to end the game, but understanding the decision the coach made. All right, Brandon Graham is ready to take the podium. Let's listen in.
Hey, BG. Thanks for taking the time. We'll get started with Ed Kratz and then Rob Mahdi.
Hey, BG. So you have a tie, first one, I think, since you've been here in Philadelphia. How do you view this?
For me, I'm not happy, about it because, but I am, more proud of how we fought in the end, because that goal line stands that we had to keep them holding with 3, that was big. We could have easily folded right there, and we could have been talking about a loss, right now. I look at, we got a lot of work to do. But at the end of the day, we're going to stay together, so I'm not really, worried about it. I know the Bengals was going to come in, they was going to fight. Every team we match up against, they going to fight. So it ain't no easy wins, ain't no easy games. So, I think that I just love that we all stuck together through all that stuff that happened, and we just messed up in the end. We can't do that.
Rob and then Jamie.
BG, you guys got after Joe Burrow, sacked him 8 times. How frustrating is it that despite all that pressure on him, the defense, again, for a third straight game, wasn't able to force any turnovers?
I know it's we got to do better with that. We was talking about it out there on trying to make turnover plays. They did a good job protecting the ball, and opportunities came for us to get the ball, and we just didn't get it. But I will say we've stayed together through all the adversity we went through in this game, and we just gonna come in Wednesday ready to work.
Jamie and then Les.
Brandon, the fact that you guys, after 3 weeks of the season, still haven't won a football game, can you speak to the mood of this team? What is it like in that locker room?
Everybody's still together. Everybody know was today towards the end was most of the game was on us. Pre-snap penalties that killed us in the end too, getting us out of field goal range, and that's something that Doug preaches all the time. Don't beat ourselves, and so I know that the team, he hasn't lost the team. Ain't nobody worried. We just know we just got to get a W, and things will definitely start to take care of themselves. But us giving up on each other, nah, we work too hard for that.
Les and then Ed Benkin.
Hey, Brandon, you said that Doug hasn't lost the team, but what did you think when the Eagles lined up to punt with 19 seconds left in overtime? What kind of message did that send to you?
Well, he had to do what he had to do. We make it's tough decisions that had to be made. We trust coach, and that's just what it is. We trust that he gonna put us in a position. So if we miss that field goal and then they go down and kick a field goal off one play, what I'm saying, that they get in field goal range and we lose the game, then it's like, oh, you getting them on that. So I trust coach. I'm not worried about nothing else. Coach definitely make the right decisions on whatever he feel for this team. So I got his back.
But could he have trusted you a little bit there? I mean, they would have had to do something pretty strong in 19 seconds to kick a field goal and win the game. Couldn't your defense have stopped them from doing that?
But coach did what he did, man. I'm gonna ride with that, and that's as far as I'm gonna go with it.
Thank you.
Ed and then Nick.
Hi, Brandon. You and a lot of the guys have been saying during the week that you're close and you're this much closer to turning things around. But when these mistakes keep adding up, does it get to a point if you start to wonder maybe you're not as close as you think you are to getting this thing turned around?
Man, nah, that's just you talking. I ain't worried about it. We gonna come in, we gonna get it right. You know what I'm saying? I know that for us, we put too much time and effort into this thing, and stuff happened in the game that you're not proud of sometimes, and what I will say, we gonna stand tall through it all, and we gonna get it right. You know what I'm saying? And we've been underdogs ever since I've been here. As soon as things go bad, people want to start panicking. We ain't panicking. We just know it's a different type of year, and we gonna get it right.
We have time for 2 more, so let's go Nick and then Bo.
Hi, here. It was a different kind of training camp. In retrospect, do you think you guys were prepared for the season when it started?
I think we got great coaches. I'm not worried about anything. I know a lot of this stuff is self-inflicting, stuff that we can control, and we're gonna get it right. I think that I don't make excuses. All I know is I just go to work, and I know that we go to work when it's time to go to work. And things happen in the game that sometimes hey, we just not proud of, that we make mistakes. I jumped off sides. I wasn't proud of that. I've been doing good off watching that ball, but mistakes happen. But I will say we don't give up on each other, because we put too much time and effort into this thing, and I know the coaches do too. I love Coach Schwartz, because Schwartz definitely put us in position to make plays, but sometimes we make our own mistakes on the field by not communicating, sometimes by not doing the technique that we've been taught to do sometimes, because things move fast in the game, and you're gonna make mistakes. But I love how we rally together at the end, and we can build off that.
Last one here with Bo.
Hey, Brandon, the TV cameras at the end showed Matt Pryor on the sidelines getting pretty emotional after his false start on what would have been the field goal. Did you have a chance to talk to him or see him in the locker room afterwards?
That's a guy I know it means something to him. If he wasn't mad, I'd be, questioning something. But, I know that Pryor definitely worked his butt off. He's happy for the opportunity that he got. He took care of business when he was in there. But, he gotta not make that mistake next time. And I know he will make up for that.
Thanks, BJ.
All right.
All right, a ton of respect for Brandon Graham for answering the tough questions. And look, he is a competitor. He said it right there. We've been underdogs ever since we've been here. I spoke with him earlier this week, and I said, what I love about this team, you thrive in the underdog role. What stresses me out about this team is they get into the underdog role. All right, Miles Sanders ready to take some questions here. Let's listen.
Hey, Miles, thanks for taking the time. We'll get started here with Jeff McLean and then Dave Zangaro.
Miles, how do you view a tie?
Oh man, right off the bat. Okay. I don't see it as bad or good. I mean, it's just both teams got to look at the film and just see what we could have done better to get a W. I know for us, I know the defense played a hell of a game, put us in great situations, but we also put them in bad situations. Again, we can't turn the ball over like that, and just it's dumb penalties hurt us this game. So.
Dave, and then Chris Murray.
Miles, you had a really good first quarter, and then 2 drives to start the second quarter, I think 6 straight dropbacks. How frustrating is that for you to not get the ball in those situations?
It's not frustrating for me at all. Coaches have a game plan, and we put all our trust in the coaches. So whatever play's called, and hold on, I'm going to run it.
Chris, and then Kristen Rogers.
Yeah, Miles, how do you evaluate the way Carson Wentz ran the offense, and especially how he kind of came back from those interceptions that he threw and scored that touchdown at the end?
Repeat the first part.
I was saying, how do you evaluate how Carson performed today, as in terms of recovering from those interceptions?
I saw a lot of leadership. I saw big boy football from 11. You never want to turn the ball over again. I had a mistake last week too, but it's all about how you go about the game, the rest of the game. And I thought he fought his ass off the rest of the game too, and gave us a chance to get a W.
Kristen, and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Miles, when we talked with you earlier this week, you had mentioned that Deuces had said something about the eye candy when it came to this defensive front for the Bengals. What did you see that you were able to do against Cincinnati today?
As far as protection-wise, they didn't bring all the exotic looks that they were doing these last 2 weeks and previous years. They're a saw blitz team. They like to blitz off the edge. They're bringing one guy on one side, and we were sliding to them, and they had another guy on the left. So I'm keeping my eyes on both sides just in case, But they just like to disguise a lot of stuff, and they didn't really do too much.
Martin, and then Paul Domowitch.
Hey, Miles, it seemed like Carson had you open deep and just kind of overthrew you there early in the fourth quarter. I mean, what did you see on that play? And it seems like if you guys had connected, that would have gone for a touchdown. Do you think that's the case?
I believe so. It's just a tough, I don't know if he was getting pressured or anything, but, we'll get it again, man. I take the blame for it, I could have ran on my route faster, and maybe I would have got there. But, there's a lot of stuff that all of us as a team can look at and just grow from it.
Damo, and then Zach Berman.
Yeah, Miles, I wanted to ask you about losing Dallas early in the game. He's such an important part of both your run game and your pass game. Looked like after he was out, you guys probably played more 11 personnel than you probably had intended. Just how big a loss was that?
I don't think it was a big loss. It's next man up mentality over here. So I don't think it was a loss. We got Rich. He stepped in and did a hell of a job too. So it's next man up over here.
Zach, and then John McMullen.
Hey, Miles, after the penalty on the field goal, what did you guys want to do on the sideline? Did you want to go for it on 4th and 12?
No. I guess it's not up to us. It's up to the coaches, and we're going to trust whatever the coach decision makes. So, but we were in a perfect position to kick the field goal and hopefully end the game. But penalties hurt us, and we can't put ourselves in those tough situations like that.
We have time for two more, so let's go John McMullen and then Ed Kratz.
Hey, Miles, you mentioned that next man up mentality, which I understand, but when you lose Dallas and Deshaun before halftime, did you notice the shift in what you guys plan to do? Did you have to do a number of things a little bit differently? Because those are two proven players.
No, absolutely. I actually don't think we had to do anything different or anything was different. We still had a chance to win the game, and that's all that really matters. Don't matter who's in there. Everybody has to do their job, and it's just as simple as that.
Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, Miles. This was a defense giving up 185 yards on the ground. I know you guys had 175. A lot of Carson Wentz yards in there with 65. Do you think you could have done more, or would you have liked to have touched the ball a little bit more in the run game?
Again, I'm trusting the coaches with the play calling. Whatever's called in the huddle, we're going to run it. I have trust in them. They have trust in me. So whenever they want to put the ball in my hands, I'm going to do what I got to do. And whenever they want to pass it, I'm going to block my ass off or get open for Carson. So it's just like that.
Thanks, Miles.
Clearly a guy ready to go to war for his quarterback, and I love to see that from Miles Sanders. His stats today: 18 carries, 95 yards for an average of 5.3 yards per carry. And Fran, I'm going to turn to you. We just heard from a lot of different players. Did anything really stand out to you? I touched on some of the high points kind of between them, but what's kind of your big takeaway just from how they're handling this tie?
Well, it certainly seems like this group is still tight-knit. You know, nobody is throwing anybody under the bus. It's next man up. Players are backing up the coaches. Players are backing up other players, and that's what you want to see. As the if you're ownership, if you're the front office, if you're the coaching staff, you're looking at these players. How do they respond to this afterwards? And they're going to find out this week how they're going to respond to this start 0-2-1. But in the immediate aftermath, what we've seen is a positive sign so far.
Absolutely, and I think some of the things that Brandon Graham had to say, which, he usually is a real good way to kind of get your temperature of the locker room, and he also kind of sets that temperature that he's saying, look, I'm not happy about it, but I'm proud of how we fought, especially referencing that goal line stand at the end to hold the Bengals to a field goal, not a touchdown. He said that could have been a loss. We've been underdogs ever since I got here. And I think that's kind of a really good way to capture, look, this is not a win, so there's absolutely frustration, but they did continue to fight, especially when you look at the defense and the way they made all those stops down the stretch.
Yeah, and that's something, all of these things are fine to say right now, and it's about, you got to you say what you need to say, you do what you need to do to get through the next 48 hours, 72 hours. But now we got to turn the page to San Francisco, and you say, all right, how do we take these mistakes that we made this week, that we made last week, that we made the week before? We got to start stacking wins here. You need all of the guys to be able to stay together. Now we got to take that next step, correct these mistakes, and get to week 4.
Well, and I'm with what Jalen Mills said about that. We're coming in on Tuesday. We're looking at the mistakes, and we're fixing those. We are not looking at the stuff that we did well. All right, we are going to take a quick break. On the other side, we have the Ricoh review. Fran's going to be breaking down a play from this game, as well as the Toyota Player of the Week nominees. Stay with us.
Sure.
And welcome back to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh, and it is time for the Ricoh review with Fran Duffy. He's going to break down a play from this game, the Eagles against the Bengals. Let's take a look.
All right, well, let's take a look at the touchdown from Carson Wentz to Greg Ward at the end of the first half to give the Eagles the lead. And really, this is a well-designed play against a coverage that the Bengals are running here and then kind of get caught. And let's just real quick show you what I mean. The Eagles had just brought Deontay Burnett in motion from left to right. That brought this safety across the field, okay? So he followed the receiver, Deontay Burnett. Now, Cincinnati's trying to disguise the fact that they're in cover 2. Pre-snap, they have a single high safety in the middle of the field, but they're actually going to rotate him out to this way, and this safety is going to be very late getting to his responsibility in the deep half of the field. That's important because that's where this receiver, Greg Ward, is going to be running. Greg Ward is just going to be running a simple vertical route. The ball really, in theory, should be going to Deontay Burnett. Typically, when you run this level of concept, it's called a 3-level stretch. It's been a staple of the Doug Pederson offense really since he's been here in Philadelphia. It's almost always meant to go to this number 2 receiver running the intermediate route. But when Carson Wentz sees that this safety is late to get over the top, he throws a bullet to Greg Ward running that vertical route. So we're going to let this play, and I want you to just watch. That safety is late to get there. Carson Wentz reads the field. See how quickly he pulls the trigger here? Hits Greg Ward in the turkey hole, and he's able to get home for a touchdown. Eagles take the lead. Great play design, great play recognition by Carson Wentz, and a great throw. Nice job by everybody across the board on the Eagles offense.
And now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. This week's nominees, Brandon Graham, Miles Sanders, and Greg Ward. And guys, I am once again for the second week in a row going with Brandon Graham as my pick. And he has 2 of the 8 sacks on Joe Burrow today, along with 4 quarterback hits. 4 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for a loss, and then 16 yards in those sacks. So that is my pick. Of course, Fran, we just saw Miles Sanders, the subject of the Ricoh review. He is also a nominee. Who are you going to be taking for your pick here?
To me, it would be Brandon Graham. And, you know, I would also give a nod to Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, that entire defensive line, what they were able to do in this game. I can't wait to go back and watch the film of the defense to see what they were able to get done up front, because we had talked a lot about the lack of pressure last week against the bootleg and, you know, Jared Goff moving outside the pocket. You weren't going to get that this week with Joe Burrow. He was going to stay in that pocket. The Eagles were able to get home. Obviously, we talked about 8 sacks. Brandon Graham, to me, is just representative of the defense here in this poll. Greg Ward, Miles Sanders, they had nice games, but I'm going to go with the defense here. They really held up their end of the bargain in this matchup.
And when I said Miles Sanders, I meant Greg Ward was the subject of the Ricoh review. Everyone knew what I meant. All right, Ike, who's your pick for today?
Well, let's make it unanimous. We got to stay on the defensive side of the ball. Fran touched on everything. I mean, when you have 8 sacks the way that they did, and more importantly, I like the way they played late in the game. You know, being able to hold Cincinnati to a field goal try instead of allowing Cincinnati to get that touchdown and really put the game away. Hats off to the defense for that. And then multiple opportunities in overtime where they got the offense the ball back. So it's great of a game that Miles Sanders had today. I think the defense with 8 sacks needs to be represented. And who better to represent them than Brandon Graham?
100% agree. It's unanimous. I love it. All right, I'm going to say thank you to both of you, and thank you to all of you. We will be back here next week as we look ahead to the next matchup. The Eagles will be on the road Sunday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers, a team that is now 2-1 after a 36-9 win over the Giants today. We will be right here with the kickoff show presented by Exalta at 7:35 p.m. This is a banged-up Niners team. They're playing without a lot of their players as well, so a lot of injuries for both teams. Should be a very exciting matchup, and we will, of course, be discussing it all week long here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. All right, until then, have a good week. We'll see you next time.